Level 1. Borderline Hall of Famers. Guys you can easily make a case that should or shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Some more recently retired, some currently playing, some retired decades ago. Let's start with Rajon Rondo. I feel like Rondo is a perfect example of borderline Hall of Famer. He becomes Hall of Fame eligible in 2026. I found this whole debate, is Rajon Rondo a Hall of Famer? Yes, no, absolutely no. Counterpoint, yes. And this right here is exactly why Rondo's in this level. Someone no one can agree on. It wasn't a guy that was going to put up numbers ever, but if you watch the guy hoop, you know exactly why his team won games. He's a two-time champ with the Lakers and Celtics, which kind of feels illegal. I don't know who these guys are, but I know Rondo's somewhere on this list. But who is this guy? But for real, he has a bunch of all-stars, an all-NBA team. He's got a shit ton of all-defensive teams. He was always the lead on that side of the ball. And no one has more song shoutouts in the history of basketball than Rajon Rondo. So is Rondo a Hall of Famer? I don't know. Actually, I want you guys to comment for every player in this first level. Are they a Hall of Famer or not? Rondo is first. And second on the borderline Hall of Famers is Derrick Rose. Shout out to Derrick Rose. Maybe my favorite player ever. If he didn't make the Hall of Fame, he'd be the only MVP never to make it. And it really is crazy. Even if you go to the first years of MVPs, the Kuzis, Wilts, Russells, Pettits, all the way to modern day, Kobe, LeBron, KD, Curry, Derrick Rose really is the one name that just sticks out. And obviously everyone knows it's because injuries. He's the youngest MVP ever. He also has the same amount of All-NBA teams as Rondo. He has less All-Star teams than Rondo. But the ACL and the other injuries just ruined what would have been one of the best careers ever. So Derrick Rose fits in this borderline Hall of Famer for a different reason than most players here. But if he does get in, I'd be very hyped. But then we got DeMar DeRozan. DeMar is the first current guy we got. Think about how crazy this is. DeMar DeRozan is 26 all-time in scoring, right between one of the best players ever and an 85-year career player. But DeRozan has just been a bucket forever. He's just been a consistent bucket for years. A bunch of All-NBA teams, 6 All-Stars. He's a top 3 Raptor of all time probably. Every single Raptor fan wishes he won a ring there. And he also got a gold medal with Team USA in 2016. So that's another push for DeMar's case. But right after him, we got Blake Griffin. I have a Blake Griffin take. Tell me if you think I'm right or wrong. I genuinely think if you never watched basketball once and you only watched highlights, so you were basing your ranking off of the highlights only, Blake Griffin would be by far and away the best player ever. I mean, look at some of this stuff. Tell me someone that has better highlights than Blake Griffin. But that's not what gets you in the Hall of Fame. But if you compare Blake against the other guys we talked about so far, Blake Griffin's a 6-time All-Star, he's 5-time All-NBA, so he's right in line with all of them. He was dominant in his time. Averaged over 19 points in his career, went from like a lob-only guy to a point guard in his later year with the Clippers and his Pistons seasons. Still one of the best player developments I've ever seen. And that Pistons season was elite. If you know, you know. But at the end of the day, Blake, he's a borderline Hall of Famer, which is why he sits pretty comfortably in level 1. And I think you could say the same about Kevin Love. Love has a similar career to Griffin, almost. He also has 5 All-Stars, but then he only has 2 All-NBA selections. But Love is an NBA champion, and if you guys remember Kevin Love in his Minnesota days, I remember this guy dropped 30 and 30 in a game. Minnesota never did this guy any good. The genuine best teammates they ever gave this guy was like Ricky Rubio, Nikola Pekovic, and Kevin Martin. Then he finally got to play on better teams when he went to the Cavs. He even took a back seat, a thing a lot of stars don't like to do. And he has 2 gold medals, so yeah, Love actually really does have a good case. But now we'll get to our first long retired player, Ben Wallace. Isn't it crazy that Ben Wallace is the most Defensive Player of the Year awards ever? And the player he's tied with is Rudy Gobert? Just feels like a weird NBA shout. But Ben Wallace actually is in the Hall of Fame. He's one of those guys that made the Hall of Fame after like 10 years of being eligible. I mean, this 2K cover alone should get him in the Hall of Fame. How'd we go from covers like this to these? But Ben Wallace was an anchor in the middle on one of the most fun NBA teams ever, the 04 Pistons. A team that had like 0 All-Stars but 5 All-Stars at the same time. But Wallace actually went undrafted. Imagine that. You see a center and pass on him because he's 6'9", and then he becomes maybe the best defender ever. That's just bad GMing right there. But yeah, Ben Wallace in the borderline Hall of Fame level because he was eligible for so many years before he did make it. But unfortunately, the same can't be said about Shawn Kemp. The Shawn Kemp Hall of Fame debate went on forever, but Kemp actually has not got in. Kemp is another highlight machine like Blake Griffin. I mean, Shawn Kemp literally came out and said he played the entire finals matchup against Michael Jordan high. You know how elite you gotta be to do that? But Kemp never got into the Hall of Fame, which is also pretty big debate. I mean, he's another 6-time All-Star. Why is everyone in here a 6-time All-Star? But Kemp is also a USA Gold holder. But in the entire history of players who don't look like they belong on certain teams, I mean, we're talking Hakeem Raptors, Ewing Magic, Wade Cavs, you know, those guys. Shawn Kemp Magic might hold the record for most least looking normal photo ever. How you not gonna put this guy in the Hall, Adam? But lastly in this section, we're going back to another guy that becomes eligible in 2026, LaMarcus Aldridge. Aldridge is one of those guys in 20 years that's going to be considered a pull. The ones you're going to see on TikTok slideshows, you know exactly what I mean. He's going to be the guy kids in 20 years had no idea how good he actually was. The guy has 7 All-Stars, 5 All-NBA selections. If someone had a gun to my head and said choose a big man to make a mid-range shot, and if they don't make it I die, I'm choosing LaMarcus Aldridge. I don't think I've ever seen him miss a midi. I mean, the guy has 20,000 career points. 52nd all-time, back-to-back with David Robinson. Personally, I'd be surprised if LaMarcus Aldridge isn't in the Hall of Fame in the next decade. Well, you never know with how the Basketball Hall of Fame works. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, then you want to drop your Cash App in the comments, you're going to be automatically entered in my $1 quadrillion giveaway. Surely it's a real giveaway with real winners. But genuinely, I would appreciate if you guys could subscribe. It's the only thing that truly tells me you guys want to see me go all in on this channel. So if you want to see more stuff like this, please subscribe. Thank you, and good luck in the giveaway. But that brings us to Level 2, Potential Future Legends. A mix of current players, a bunch of players in their mid to late 20s, guys who I really don't feel too comfortable placing anywhere else, but I'm pretty sure will be Hall of Famers one day when it's all said and done, if we're being honest. Let's start that off with Cade Cunningham. The Pistons are like 30-2 right now, and Cade gets better every season. I mean, the guy's only 24 years old, and he's the face of the Pistons, and they have the best record in the East right now. But Cade already has an All-Star, he's already got an All-NBA team, which is the same amount of some of those guys on the borderline list. He's averaging 27, 6, and 9 right now. There's no doubt he's a future Hall of Famer if he keeps up this level of play. He was the first pick for a reason. And I saw a tweet that said Cade Cunningham plays basketball the same way J. Cole raps, and I feel like that's just textbook correct. They just both do it the right way. But besides him, I think everyone and their great-grandmothers can agree Wemby is pretty easily a future Hall of Famer. Wemby should be going for his 3rd Defensive Player of the Year right now. Year 1, you could say he was robbed. Year 2, the blood clots, but he was a lock. And this year, also a lock unless he misses another game, or he's 0 for 3. In that case, he's cooked and has no chance of the Hall of Fame. But for real, if this guy has an 8-year career even, he's a lock. He's already been an All-Star. Him and Cade will both be 2-time All-Stars this year. He's played 2 seasons so far and led the NBA in blocks twice. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he finishes 1st all-time in blocks. Alright, but on a real note, I'm looking at some of this guy's accolades right now. Half of these shits are made up. 3-time LMB Elite Best Young Player. First, genuinely, what is this award? $10 Cash App to whoever could tell me. Second, how you gonna win Best Young Player 3 times? How you gonna be a multiple-time young player? This is a scam award if I've ever heard one. But next, we got Anthony Edwards. Edwards is another obvious future Hall of Famer. You can probably already make a case for him being the 2nd best Timberwolf ever, unless I'm forgetting someone outside of KG. He's already a 3-time All-Star. The guy's 24. Edward guns, but it's fine. He can score, so can you blame him? He revived the Timberwolves. We're talking about a team that was actually poverty for like 10 years. Actually, no, like 20 years. Besides that 1 year they had Tibbs coaching them. But we're talking about the Timberwolves, one of the worst organizations ever, and Anthony Edwards was able to revive them. On a real note though, I went to see if Anthony Edwards was anywhere on the all-time scoring list. 3 things. First, why would he be? He's 24 years old. Second, genuinely, who is James Edwards? And third, shout out to Monte Ellis. He was so good. But yeah, Anthony Edwards, future Hall of Famer. And the same can be said about Jalen Brunson. Brunson is one of the older players we're going to see in this section. He's 29, but I just watched this guy drop 40 versus the Magic in the Cup an hour ago. I think everyone knows he's a future Hall of Famer. Brunson is kind of like Edwards in some ways. They revived franchises that were poverty for 20 years, then became the face of their franchise, then they traded teammates. Oh yeah, and they both chuck, but they should chuck because they're good enough. Brunson made the All-NBA second team the last 2 years. He still hasn't cracked the first team, but he did win Clutch Player of the Year last year, and he went from second round pick to the face of maybe the most famous sports franchise in the world. And you know how much Knicks fans like this guy. They made a song called Thank You Jalen Brunson. But yeah, after him we got Donovan Mitchell. You can make a case Donovan Mitchell would already make the Hall of Fame if he retired. 6 All-Stars, 2 All-NBA teams. The guy put up 71 points in 1 game. I remember his rookie season. We haven't seen a guard be able to score like he did in a minute. And then he became the face of the Jazz. He brought them back to relevance since like the first time since John Stockton retired. Then he did the same thing with the Cavs. He became the face there, the best Cav of all time. But for real, I do think Donovan Mitchell has the best Hall of Fame case out of all the players so far in this level. And I think the only other player he would be equal with would be Devin Booker. Booker's only a 4-time All-Star somehow. He gets snubbed every other year. It's an annual thing at this point. But he also has 2 All-NBA teams. I don't know why this feels like a fake All-NBA first team. Booker, Mavs Luka, Tatum, future Wizard Giannis, and Jokic. It just feels off. But Booker had that crazy playoff run with the Suns when they lost to the Bucks in the finals. A ring that year low-key could have solidified him a Hall of Famer, but he still will be. He's the Suns' all-time leading scorer. He also has 2 gold medals. He also scored 70 in a loss. Those are the kind of teams Booker played with in his first 5 years of his career. But I want to talk about 2 more players really quickly who I think have a chance when it's all said and done. And yes, there's more than 2, but I can't make this video 3 hours long. So quickly, Tyrese Maxey. Maxey took things to a level I genuinely didn't think he was capable of this year. The guy's averaging 32 and 7. He's already a 1-time All-Star and he won Most Improved Player. I feel like he scores 50 every other night. If he keeps this up for a few seasons, which I don't see why he wouldn't be able to, and if Embiid returns to life, I can't see why Maxey can't be in the conversation. But the last guy we'll put here is Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams is here for 2 reasons. 1, he's really good at basketball. 2, his team is even better at basketball. Jalen Williams made the All-Star team last year. He made the All-Defensive team. He won a ring. He's going to win a lot more rings, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, I think Jalen Williams is a future Hall of Famer most likely. And I want to give a shout out to Jalen Johnson. I feel like I'd get cooked if I put him in this category, but all I'm saying is watch out for him. Level 3, clear Hall of Famers. A mix of current guys who are Hall of Fame locks and retired guys that there was no debate they were Hall of Famers when they retired. First off, we got Luka. Luka is a Hall of Fame lock, no question. He's 225th all-time in scoring, and you know they say 225th all-time in scoring is a Hall of Fame lock. But Luka, really, he's got 5 All-NBA first teams in a row, and then he made the finals. Then the Mavs were like, nah, why would we want you on our team? Why would we ever want the guy who finishes top 3 in the MVP race every single year and is going to average 35 points per game and lead the NBA in scoring again after already doing it for us? Alright, sorry for my Mavs rant. Why did they do that though? But yeah, Luka is a surefire Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. With a mix of his NBA accolades and his EuroLeague accolades, He can retire right now at 26 years old, and he'd make it. But after him, we got James Harden. James Harden's going to be better than 85% of the rest of the players you see in this video, but Harden just fits perfectly into this category, and I didn't want to leave him off the video. Harden's 36 right now, and he somehow revived himself again. It's not really a debate if Harden's a Hall of Famer. 11 All-Stars, 3 scoring titles, 2nd all-time in threes, an MVP. Do I really even need to get into James Harden and why he's a Hall of Famer? I just couldn't leave him out. But let's move to Dwight Howard. Still to this day, I can't believe they didn't put this guy on the 75th anniversary team. The guy's an 8-time All-Star, 3-peated Defensive Player of the Year. He's arguably the best Magic ever. He was the best center in the NBA for like 8 years in a row. He led the league in boards and blocks 7 times combined. A champion, a Hall of Famer. Adam Silver, I have a good idea. Let's not put this guy on the 75th list. And the thing about Dwight is, I think the NBA just hated him. I'm being dead ass too. With the whole Stan Van Gundy situation, you know they had to stick up for their guy, one of the coaches. So Dwight actually might have been blackballed from the 75th team. Not a conspiracy guy, but it's actually possible. But after him, let's move to Anthony Davis. AD's another clear Hall of Famer. He can retire right now, which honestly he might. Anthony Davis, 2026 Hall of Famer. But Davis has made 10 All-Star teams. That'll make you feel old. And he can make a case for the best Pelican ever, an NBA champ, 5 All-NBA teams, 5 defensive teams. And after Anthony Davis was in like his 3rd or 4th season, I would have put all my money I owned that he would be the greatest power forward ever. And honestly, if it wasn't for injuries, he might have been, but the dude can't stay healthy. So, if I put all my money on AD being the best power forward ever, I'd be dead broke right now. But next, we got Ray Allen. Ray Allen's already a Hall of Famer, 10-time All-Star, hit probably the biggest shot in history, gave LeBron another chip. But when Ray Allen retired, he was the best shooter ever at the time. Of course, Steph Curry does his thing, but Ray Allen was once that guy. Although, the most threes Ray Allen hit in a season was 269, which would have ranked 4th last season, with Derek White only being 4 behind. So yeah, if you're ever curious about the generation gap with threes, that's how big it is. But that doesn't take anything away from the older players like Gary Payton, a Hall of Fame lock. Arguably the best defensive guard ever, Gary Payton is just one guy I feel like gets overlooked, so I want to give him credit. 9-time All-Star, 9-time All-NBA. Before Marcus Smart won Defensive Player of the Year, Gary Payton was the only point guard to ever win it for a long time. So yeah, Gary Payton, a surefire Hall of Famer. Of course, he's already in, so there wasn't really ever doubt. The same way there was never doubt Paul Pierce made the Hall of Fame. Pierce might have awful taste as an analyst, but that doesn't take anything away from him as a player. 10 All-Star teams, 4 All-NBA teams. The guy was Kobe's kryptonite for a little. He beat Kobe in the finals and won finals MVP. Plus, Pierce himself said he had a better career than D. Wade. So, I gotta put him on here out of respect for the delusion. But the last guy I want to talk about is the most unique player yet, Dennis Rodman. This guy would have games where he would score 0 points and grab 28 rebounds. I think he actually is the most unique player ever. He has 5 rings. He's part of arguably the best big 3 ever with Pippen and MJ. He led the league in rebounding 7 times in a row. He was 6'7". Obviously, he's probably the craziest player ever, but that's why everyone loves Dennis Rodman. And there was never really any question. Dennis Rodman was a Hall of Fame lock. But that would bring us to level 4 franchise GOATs. All-time greats you aren't going to find at the top of a best players ever list, but the one thing they do have over the other people is that they're their franchise's best player ever. Let's start with Russell Westbrook. I probably don't have too much time to get this video out calling Russ the best Thunder player ever. They're 24-2 right now, and SGA exists. But as of right now, Russ is the best Thunder player ever. Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double 4 times in his career. Think about that. 4 seasons where he averaged a triple-double. He's a 9-time All-Star, 2-time scoring champ, assist champ, MVP. He genuinely has one of the best peaks ever. So yeah, Russell Westbrook at this moment is the Thunder greatest player ever and belongs in level 4. But after him, we'll move to Dominique Wilkins. This one is pretty easy. The Hawks' best player ever. The guy has a statue outside the Hawks arena. He's literally the Hawks leader in everything. Games, minutes, field goals, points. The guy made countless All-NBA teams. He was drafted by the Jazz. Yeah, the Jazz drafted him and traded him because they really needed that $1 million they traded him for on draft night. Good job, Jazz. But after him, Damian Lillard is the best trailblazer ever. The guy literally refused to leave the Blazers. Then when he did leave, he came right back, couldn't stay away. But for real, I think you could argue there might not be a more clutch player of all time. He's one of the 5 best shooters ever of the basketball. You can probably make a real case he's the 2nd best shooter ever. There's only one other guy that makes these kind of shots, and he goes by the name of Alec Burks. But Dame's just been an NBA staple over the last decade, just consistently a top 10 player every single year. Literally the exact same All-NBA selections as Dominique Wilkins. 1 first team, 4 second teams, 2 third teams. So yeah, we'll lock them in together. But let's go to Dwayne Wade. Wade is obviously the best Heat player ever. He might not be the best player that's ever played for the Heat, but he's the greatest Heat player ever. And we said Dominique had a statue. Wade has a real statue. Dominique wishes he had one like this. But Wade's career almost gets overlooked because he was behind LeBron for all those years. But he did win that one Finals MVP in 2006, the 2nd most rigged playoff series ever. He's got 13 All-Stars, a scoring champ. Yeah, D-Wade, the Heat's GOAT. But then we could talk about his friend, Chris Paul. Chris Paul is one of the only players ever you can make a case is the GOAT of 2 franchises, the Pelicans and the Clippers. Granted, my Uncle Chihuahua could also probably be the GOAT of those franchises, but that doesn't take away from CP3. Especially the way the Clippers did him dirty. How you gonna cut your best player ever in the middle of his retirement tour? But CP3's a 12-time All-Star. He's 2nd all-time in steals and assists. Granted, he's $3 billion behind John Stockton in each, but he's still 2nd. But next, Steve Nash. I think Steve Nash is the only player in this category you can make a case isn't the set-in-stone GOAT of their franchise. It was either him or Charles Barkley. Every list had one or the other. But either way, they both fit in this category. And Steve Nash versus Charles Barkley is must-see TV. So let's go Nash for now. Nash has your favorite player's favorite player. 2 MVPs, only 8 All-Stars though, which feels kinda low. But Nash kinda changed basketball to that fast-paced game we watched today, like run and gun. Shout out Steve Nash, and shout out this guy. But Nash literally didn't miss shots. 50, 40, 90 guy like every season. And if you know me, I think that's maybe the most important thing in basketball, efficiency. So yeah, but then we got Patrick Ewing, the Knicks' best player ever. This is a Russell Westbrook case. If the Knicks win the championship, watch out Patrick. But for now, it's still Patrick Ewing. 7 All-NBA teams, the Knicks leader in everything. The guy played so hard. The second he went to the bench, he'd be wrapped in ice like he just fought a world war. But Ewing is kinda similar to a bunch of the guys on this list. Like every other player besides Wade so far, he never won a ring. Like Nash, you can also have the GOAT debate with Walt Frazier and Willis Reed. But for now, we'll go Patrick Ewing. One of the most underrated players in NBA history. But then to wrap up this section, we'll move over just a little in the city to the Nets. Jason Kidd, their greatest player ever. Kidd was a dog. Ready for this? Kidd has 10 All-Stars, only 6 All-NBA teams, and then 9 defensive teams. Yeah, he was that good defensively. He was just a beast. Dr. J, if his whole prime came with the Nets, it would probably be him. It's not the Nets' all-time leading scorer, Brook Lopez, so we're going with Jason Kidd, the Nets coach who fake spilled his drink for a timeout. And that wraps up level 4. So then we got level 5, top 25-ish players of all time, players who just miss out on the A+ tier. Most of these guys rank from like 15 to 25-ish all time. Let's start with Dirk. I think Dirk actually might be the most loved NBA player of all time. How can you not like Dirk Nowitzki? An unathletic big man who carried his team past LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. You have issues if you don't like Dirk. 14 All-Stars, 12 All-NBAs, an MVP. Of course, he's the Mavs' best player ever. He's 6th all-time in scoring. That doesn't even sound like a real number. But that's how reliable Dirk was over his whole career. So yeah, Dirk sits comfortably in level 5. But then we got Nikola Jokic. I think Jokic is probably the best player in this level, and the guy you can easily debate should be in the next level. He's just a little young right now. He's only 30. But by the time he retires, he's easily going to be in level 6. Maybe even level 7, who knows. But then again, Jokic could retire in 3 years, and I don't think anyone would be really surprised. The guy's got 3 MVPs already. You could make a real case he should have 5. He puts up numbers we've never seen before. This is the best passing center in NBA history. Yeah, good luck trying to guard him. But after him, we got to go a little old school, Moses Malone. If you're an old head, you probably love Moses Malone. If you're a little younger, you might not know who he really is. He's got the same amount of MVPs as Jokic, 3. He's also an NBA champ. He's by far the best offensive rebounder in NBA history. Although, there are some people who think he purposely stat padded his rebounding numbers by missing on purpose. But look how much he leads in all-time offensive rebounds. I don't care if you missed on purpose, this is crazy. But then we gotta go Giannis. Giannis is another guy who can easily move up the all-time list by the time it's all said and done. No one knows what's gonna happen with him in the next couple months, but he can retire right now, and he's still one of the best players ever. 2 MVPs, a depoy, championship. The guy's accomplished everything you could ask for. And he's only 31 years old. He made the 75th anniversary team when he was like 28. So yeah, a guy I wouldn't be surprised who shoots up this list when he wins a championship with like the Spurs or the Knicks or something within the next 5 years. But then we got to get to Oscar Robertson, Russell Westbrook before Russell Westbrook. The first player to average a triple-double, 12 All-Stars, an MVP. I honestly don't know why Oscar doesn't go higher on all-time list. Maybe because he played for the Kings, and the Kings are devoid of the NBA. But Oscar's a guy you just don't hear about too much. The guy has a career earning about the same of what Etuan Moore makes in a game. But I guess that's why we forget about him, because he's just so old school. But then we got another old school player, Dr. J. Dr. J belongs in this because of how good his nickname is. When there's people who don't even know your real name, you definitely belong here. Most of what Dr. J did came in the ABA, but his NBA stuff is still great. If you combine the 2 leagues, he's got 4 MVPs and 3 rings. In the NBA, he's just got 1 each. So yeah, shout out to the doctor, Julius Erving. But then we got Kevin Garnett. If the Timberwolves didn't screw over KG, he might be way higher on this list. But they did him the same way we talked about Kevin Love. They never got the guy any help. When he literally won an MVP and was the best defender in the league year after year. Then the one time he leaves, he wins a ring and a depoy instantly. So yeah, KG's career, killed by the Wolves, saved by the Celtics, and then makes one of the most legendary videos of all time. But the last guy of the category we're going to talk about is Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas might be the most hated player ever. Literally everyone hated this guy. MJ, Magic, Bird. The guy was enemies with everyone. And for good reason. He was good and he won. Which is why he fits this level. I mean, the guy was so hated, they literally made him make up with Magic Johnson on TV 75 years later. That's gotta mean something. He's the Pistons GOAT, he's a 2-time champ. He only played in the NBA for 13 seasons and is a 12-time All-Star. Then he became one of the worst coaches ever. So yeah, Isaiah Thomas fits perfectly in this list. And I want to give quick shoutouts to a couple players. Jerry West, Karl Malone, John Stockton, Kawhi Leonard also easily fit in this level. But now we got to get to level 6, the Mount Rushmore fillers. The guys who, if you put them in the other 2 NBA GOAT Mount Rushmore spots, I wouldn't be mad at all. But for this level, we're going to go a little quicker because I don't want to do honorable mentions for this level and leave anyone off. So we're going to go through all 11 players a little quicker. First off, we got Magic Johnson. This one's easy. The guy is the first or second best point guard ever. He was like a 7-foot tall point guard. One of the ugliest jumpers I've ever seen. But 5 rings tells me to shut up. 3 MVPs. Pretty much revolutionized the game of basketball. And part of who I'm pretty sure most people would say is the greatest rivalry in NBA history. So while we're here, we may as well talk about the other half of the rivalry, Larry Bird. Probably the coldest player of all time. The guy was as white as the desk I'm working on right now. Talking about telling other white players it's offensive if they guard him. And honestly, he was right. 3-time champ, 3 MVPs, but broke his back shoveling, then decided to call it a career. Honestly, probably one of the biggest what-ifs in NBA history. Shout out to Larry Legend. But then we'll go with Kareem. I think Kareem is probably most people's 3rd best player ever. But if you're younger, you probably don't know how good he is. 6 MVPs, the most ever. 6 rings, 19 All-Stars. The all-time scoring leader before someone else came along. Kareem is a given to be on here. And honestly, there should just be like a level 6.5 called Kareem. But I'm going to put him here for now. And then we're going to go Kobe. RIP to one of the best ever. Was part of the dynasty with Shaq. Scores 82 with Kwame. Then part of another dynasty with Pau. Only 1 MVP, which feels a little low. But it is what it is. A lot of people group LeBron, Kobe, and MJ together. I'm not going to do that, but it just shows how impactful he was. But if you want to talk about impactful, Steph Curry has a debate to be number 1 all time. Watch an NBA game from 2010, then watch one today, and when you notice the difference, just know it was because of this guy right here. He's the greatest shooter ever by far. The guy won 4 championships just chucking from half court. He also has 2 MVPs doing it, the only unanimous MVP too. But yeah, Steph Curry just throws the ball up from wherever, and somehow it goes in. He's also one of the most efficient players ever. He's either 1st or 2nd in the best point guard ever debate. So Curry is easily in this level. But then we're going to go to Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt was a fake human. The guy averaged 50 and 27 in a season. 50 points and 27 rebounds. Oh yeah. And 48.5 minutes per game. There's 48 minutes in a basketball game. He never came out. And if you're a viewer of my channel, I know what you're thinking. I've been saying it for like a year now. But when the channel picks back up, I made a video where I interviewed a player who actually played in Wilt's 100-point game to find out if it actually happened. If you want to see it, please sub. I'm going to post it eventually. I'm just waiting for the right time. But after him, we got the guy Wilt really couldn't beat, Bill Russell. Bill Russell has maybe the most unbeatable record ever, 11 rings. In 13 seasons too. He also has 5 MVPs. He has a case for best defender ever. The Celtics were stacked and they won a lot, and a lot of it could be credited to Bill Russell. He averages a career 22.5 rebounds per game, 2nd all-time just to Wilt. Think of it as like Wilt was the flashy stats guy who was stuck on trash teams, but probably the more skilled player, and then Bill Russell was the quiet player who just did what he had to do to win. That's Wilt and Russell. But then we'll talk about KD, a guy a lot of people call the best scorer ever, which he might be. He's a 7-footer who moves like a shooting guard, could pull up from anywhere. He's 8th all-time in scoring at this point, 2 rings, an MVP, the best tweeter ever. KD is clearly one of the best players in NBA history. But then we got Tim Duncan. Duncan is just a guy you forget existed because we haven't heard of him since he retired. Going to be the same from Jokic. But Duncan literally didn't lose. 5 rings, 2 MVPs, another guy who has a case of one of the best defenders ever. Duncan is the guy that would destroy you and tell you, good playing with you, buddy. There wasn't a thing you could do to stop him, and you weren't going to beat him, so yeah. One of the most underappreciated players ever. But then we got Shaq. A lot of people will say Shaq is the most dominant player ever. I mean, there was no way to guard him. The only thing you could do is foul him and pray he misses free throws, which there's about a 58% chance he did. But either way, he won 4 rings, an MVP, part of arguably the best duo ever. I feel like every time I hear someone make their all-time starting 5, Shaq is the center they choose, and it's for good reason. But the last player of the category is another center, Hakeem Olajuwon. Hakeem is the one player we completely overlook. He's got an MVP. The thing is though, shout out to Hakeem, because the 2 years MJ retired to go play baseball, we'll go with that. But anyways, those 2 years, Hakeem was the guy to take advantage and go win rings. And he won them both years. Go for you, Hakeem, taking advantage. He's the all-time leader in blocks, and I know I said it for like the last 3 players, but he also has a debate for best defender ever. I know it's a big list of a debate, but he's on the list. So anyways, Hakeem Olajuwon, level 6, Mount Rushmore fillers. But that brings us to level 7, the 2 players. Do I really need to say who they are? We're talking about Elfrid Payton and Brandon Jennings. But other than these two, we'll start with Michael Jordan. Of course, arguably the greatest player ever. 6 rings, 5 MVPs, 10 scoring titles. The guy made 9 All-NBA teams, and he made this video one of the best videos ever. MJ is so good that at 23 is retired by the Miami Heat. MJ never even played a millisecond for the Miami Heat. That's how much of an impact he had. I know Bird and Magic were the push to make the game global, but MJ took it to a complete new level. If this video was made about 10 years ago, the final level would only be MJ, but since then, another player played basketball who was really good, and that player is LeBron James, the other half of the GOAT debate. LeBron is in his 23rd season right now. He's first all-time in scoring by 4,000 points at this point. He's a 4-time champ, a 4-time MVP. There's people who would say he should have won MVP from like every year from 2008 to 2020, which you can make a real case. He was the best player in the NBA pretty much every year. There was this stretch from 2011 to 2018 where he made the finals literally every single season. He owned the East, then he went to the Lakers and won it all there. If you're a guy who likes rings and winning, MJ's your guy. If you're a guy who likes longevity and stats, LeBron is your guy. But either way, these are the 2 guys in level 7. And if you guys enjoyed, I would genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. It's the only thing that tells me you guys really want me to go all in on this channel. I appreciate you for watching. Thanks again.